What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. I know the Fringe said he was staying out of drama, and well, this isn't really drama on my end. This is more information. This is more keeping people informed as to what's going on in the background when it comes to Alberta separation and Alberta referendum. For anybody who's keeping track, there's been no date set yet. We've tried our best on this channel to push people over to albertaprosperityproject.com. Again, I have no affiliation with them. I want to make that perfectly clear. No one there has approached me or asked me to promote them or put them out. But the main petition for intent to sign for a ballot, for a referendum, is on that website. Again, albertaprosperityproject.com. You can head over and they have lots of resources. They have, again, your pledge to sign for a ballot when that becomes available. So it's not signing for separation, it's signing your intent to sign in support of a ballot, of a question, when that time comes. It's important to say I'm not attached to them. Because what we're seeing right now is a lot of infighting. And I know people are going to say, well, that's drama. Well, not really, because there's two different branches now forming out of several, but two major ones. That is going to spark some confusion amongst people. So I wanted to make sure people had the facts, people knew what was going on, and why it's a little scary. Let's get into it. Keith Wilson, super lawyer. I've been following him for a while, good friend of mine. Again, even though he's a friend of mine, again, I'm still not involved with what's going on. I'm just giving you guys the news. Keith Wilson tweeting out, the newly named Alberta Republican Party needs to realize that you're splitting the vote on the right, clearing the way for an NDP government, and blocking separation. So what he's talking about here is the Republican Party of Alberta. This is a new party forming to essentially push for the same things that the Alberta Prosperity Project is looking for, but on a more political party status level. Now, one thing that's always been stated with the Alberta Prosperity Project is that they don't want another political party. This is about Alberta separation. This is about what's best for Albertans. Often when you form new parties, it's no different than the Wild Rose or the Maverick Party in Alberta or any of those other guys. It's usually just people from old parties coming over, the good old boys, to come and start up a new, what they call, grassroots movement to try and get people on board. This is essentially the PPC of Alberta. They're here to split the vote. And when I say the PPC, I don't mean that they have good ideas. I mean they're here to split the vote. You've got Jeffrey Rath chiming in down here as well, saying, can we please focus on getting Alberta out of Canada? Now is not the time for wannabe politicians to try and hijack the Alberta independence movement for their own ends. The Alberta Republican Party is not the political arm of the Alberta Prosperity Movement. He goes on to say, we welcome members of every political party to join our movement and support an end to all federal taxation and regulation of Albertans. So again, they're not telling them they can't help them or they can't work together. But you've got the Republican Party of Alberta. Now, they've tweeted out here, the UCP can't have it both ways. Now, they have this letter out from May 8th. Just going to take a minute here to clarify it with you. The Premier's recent remarks suggesting that a sovereignty referendum is a means to avoid the creation of a new party, overlook a critical reality that the Republican Party of Alberta already exists, and we are not backing down. We were founded to represent the values and voices that have long gone unheard in Alberta politics. Our party isn't a recreation of any single policy or movement. We are a movement, growing, principled, and unapologetically committed to putting Albertans first. Momentum is building not because of empty slogans or last-minute gestures to appease the grassroots. Our party is growing exponentially because Albertans are hungry for real change, real courage, and real representation again. But this is more like a block that they're trying to form. Somebody to represent Alberta in the House. We welcome debate, but will not be dismissed. The people of this province deserve more than a political maneuvering. They deserve leadership that puts Alberta above party loyalty and above Ottawa's interests. The Republican Party of Alberta stands for sovereignty, not just in word, but in will. We are here. We are ready. We're just getting started. So you see media relations down there saying to contact them. Now, I'll be reaching out to see if we can get them on the channel to talk about this, because here's the problem I have. When you look at what Keith Wilson's doing, Keith Wilson is acting nonpartisan. as a lawyer, as a constitutional lawyer. Jeffrey Rath doing the same thing. These are lawyers who understand the law, who are trying to work on Alberta separation. They're not working on politics. It's not about we don't like these guys over that guys. They have a main goal and focus, which is the separation of Alberta from Confederacy. When you start to bring politics into it and political parties, these are people just looking for funding options. These are people looking to pad their wallets and essentially just be another extension of the government. This is where it'll cause some confusion, because if the Republican Party of Alberta says, hey, we're working on separation as well, people might get steered off of what's really happening within the movement. They may miss the opportunity to put their name on a ballot, or at least the opportunity for a question of a ballot. So I wanted to straighten that out here. That the Republican Party of Alberta appears to be, in my opinion, doing nothing more than the PPC does in federal politics, and that's splitting the vote, causing more divide, and making way, as Keith Wilson says, for an NDP government. It's not going to benefit anybody. If we're asking what's being referred to here, I'm going to cite this article from Danielle Smith. She says sovereignty referendum provides an outlet to avoid the creation of a new party, which I think is good. It says here, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is fighting criticism. She's been selfish and dangerous by risking a separation referendum, in part to avert the emergence of another political rival. Smith said she doesn't support separating her province from Canada, but says Albertans have genuine grievances with the federal government, and she wants concessions from Liberal Prime Minister Mark Carney. On Thursday, in question period in the legislature, opposition NDP leader Christina Gray said Smith's own words show she is jeopardizing national unity to bolster her own power. This is typical, heat windbag type rhetoric coming from the NDP. Why is the premier dividing the country and a province just to avoid dividing her party? The day before Smith acts on CTV News Channel, if it wasn't easier to quell separatism by taking it off the table, Smith responded, if there isn't an outlet, it creates a new party. So what she's done is essentially what we've talked about from day one. She's offering Albertans the opportunity that should we garner enough signatures, they'll listen to the pleas and the voices of those constituents, rather than forming another party to essentially be a nothing burger. In the legislature, Smith said she doesn't want to see Alberta's separatist movement grow into a large mainstream political party like the Bloc Québécois or Parti Québécois in Quebec. We do not want a permanent feature of Alberta politics to be parties that send representatives to Ottawa whose sole purpose is to break up the country, she said. Smith added that she's working to gain respect for Alberta within a united Canada, but Gray said the separatists that the premier referred to are factions of her own party. And this is where, again, it comes down to what I mentioned earlier, that often when these parties form, it's not grassroots. It's not people like Keith Wilson or Jeffrey Rath. These are people who have existed in politics for quite some time. They're merely just going from one snake pit to another. Old dinosaurs. The pro-independence Republican Party of Alberta, formerly called the Buffalo Party, which does not have an elected member of the legislature, pushed back against Smith's remarks on social media, saying their party is gaining momentum and won't back down. Again, we went over their statement. Smith said she wants to enable direct democracy on a wider range of Albertans' concerns, and there should be enough signatures. Should there be enough signatures, she has promised to initiate a separation referendum as early as next year. So she's following the laws. But when you look at the Republican Party of Alberta, I know it's not fully on the screen, but I'm going to show you their members here. Sarah Nagussi, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her last name. Says here that she's got experience in oil and gas and event management. But you go down to Cameron Davies. Raised in Spruce Grove, Alberta, Cameron Davies grew up in a small town values. Son of a teacher and a small business owner, he's a military veteran and proud oil patch worker who knows what real work looks like. As leader of the party, Cameron is standing up for Alberta families, defending our freedoms, respecting faith, and fighting to build independent Alberta that puts its people first. That's all fine and dandy, but then you get down to Paul Chung, who is a political campaigner with over 15 years of experience in provincial and municipal politics across BC, Ontario, and Alberta. So what are we letting in here? More snakes, right? And it's not to say that Paul Chung is a bad person, but when we're talking about independence from a federal government, you're going to bring in more people who have worked with the government? That doesn't make sense to me. That's a red flag. Daniel Warwick, committed accounting professional with a BBA from Mount Royal University and experience in industry and public practice. His role as a volunteer CFO of the Conservative political party during provincial elections reflects his passion for financial management and community service. Again, ties to the Conservative Party. Peter Weichler, an Albertan-born businessman. Peter Weichler has extensive experience in finance, corporate leadership, and capital raising for emerging companies. Politically active since the pandemic, he served as Calgary director on the provincial UCP board and is a supporter of Alberta's independence movement. So again, that's all fine and dandy that he supports the movement, but he sat on the province's UCP board. Art Hanger, respected voice in Alberta's political landscape, known for his unwavering commitment to faith, principled leadership, and public service. He served as a member of Parliament for Calgary Northeast from 1993 to 2008, representing the Reform Party, Canadian Alliance, and Conservative Party during a period of major political change in Canada. So all this is fine and dandy, and I'm not saying these are bad people or bad actors or that they're doing anything to make life difficult for people. What I'm stating is that if we continue to form these parties rather than focus on the independents, again, guys like Keith Rath, they're simply out there making sure the laws are being acted upon, that they grant the signatures, that they get people that are interested in Alberta's sovereignty working on said project rather than trying to get funding and get into the House of Commons as a permanent political fixture. There's nothing wrong with that, but I don't think that's what Albertans are looking for. We're not looking for a bloc-style party. We simply want out. Again, if people want to follow the Republican Party of Alberta, they're more than welcome to. I'm not saying not to. Again, I'm not here to smear them or say anything bad about them, more just to bring awareness, because people may say, well, if they come to your door and say, hey, we're all for separation, people say, oh, we are too. Then they miss the boat on getting signatures for the actual vote because they thought they were following the right party. I wanted people to have the proper information. So again, if you want to get your name in Alberta on the list for a committed signature for a vote, Alberta Prosperity Project is the place to go. If you think we need a bloc-style political party in the House of Commons or in the province, I guess Republican Party of Alberta is where you got to go. But nonetheless, I do agree with what Keith and Mr. Rath said, that essentially we just want to work on sovereignty right now. We shouldn't be turning this into a whole three-ring circus. We shouldn't be bringing political parties into this. I think it's just a matter of, how do we get out? How do we do it effectively? How do we get the signatures to do so and the support to do so? And let's get going on that. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think this is nothing more than a vote split, that this is a way to promote other parties to get ahead when it comes to Alberta's future, or do you believe that they have the best intentions and they're worth following? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Don't forget to turn on your bell for notifications. Join me tonight and every Friday night here on the channel for Friday Night Fringe, our live streaming weekly show where I'm joined by the beautiful Mrs. Fringe as we go back and forth throughout the community to hear what you have to say outside of making these videos. We'll talk about everything that happened this week in politics, everything we know that's coming ahead, and hear what you have to say in your Q&A. I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say in those live streams every week, but most importantly, I look forward to hearing what you have to say tonight, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, every Friday night here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.